Hello there, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to this next live session that we're doing to help you unlock your breakthrough. We've started these daily sessions, and it's already day 9 today. And while I was planning for today's live session, I was just thinking about all the incredible topics and concepts and ideas we've uncovered over the past 9 days. We've been meeting from Monday to Friday every single night at 8:30 p.m. with only one aim of helping you unlock your next breakthrough, not by doing 1,000 complicated things, but by doing one simple thing one day at a time. And as we've been on this journey, we've covered a lot of ground, from talking about feeling stuck to how to manage our time better, how to take action effortlessly, how to be more in the present moment, how to deal with overwhelm, and a lot of other concepts. And I am very proud and very happy for the fact that we've had so many of you joining in, listening in, and supporting. And so today, I wanted to ensure that this live session gives you the value and gives you the skills that you need to take action in your real world, in your real life. Because as I told you, I was thinking about all these topics, and a question came to my mind that I want to share with all of you today. I was thinking, well, anyone who's going through these videos could think, well, all of these topics are great. They're wonderful. Yes, I need to understand how to deal with overwhelm, how to handle challenges, how to handle problems. All that's fine. But if my world is on fire, if things are very uncertain in my life, and if there are problems that I need to deal with right now, then what the hell am I going to do learning about how to stay calm and how to be present and how to stay focused when I have this big problem at hand that I need to deal with? Because there's so much uncertainty, there's so much doubt, there's so much fear about what will happen. And I recognize that this is a reality a lot of us are facing right now. Maybe it's in a relationship, maybe it's in our health, maybe in our career or our finances. But there's one truth we can all agree upon: the world is becoming a more uncertain place day by day. Every single day, something new is coming up. Every single day, we have new ideas popping in. We have new concepts. We have new AIs. We have new discoveries and massive shifts across the world order, which are very real concerns and very real pressures, creating uncertainty not just for you, but for millions of people around the world. Just 20 years ago, having a career in IT and being a software engineer was one of the most prized things you could do. And the moment you did that, it was like, wow, your career is now set. But today, that's no longer the reality. For a lot of people who are IT professionals, and this could be you as well if you're one, you know how much of a cascading effect AI is having on everything that's coming up. Jobs that were secure just 3 years ago are now in that doubtful light where people don't know if they'll have a job 6 months from now. In the same way, there are so many changes across so many industries and so many different areas of life that we're often left wondering, will we really be able to succeed in such a complicated, unpredictable, and uncertain world? And when the challenges are this real, when it's literally a job at stake or a relationship at stake or something major at stake, then in that moment, let's be honest, we really don't think about wellness, we really don't think about healing, we really don't think about working on emotions or working on feelings or figuring out how to feel better inside. That's not what we are focused on. What we are focused on is, how do I solve this problem? How do I deal with this? And how do I make sure I rise from this uncertainty? So that is what I want to help you develop today. But for that, let's take a few moments to understand what is this uncertainty and where is it exactly coming from. Because while times may feel very rushed and complicated today, the truth is, the world has always been a place of uncertainty. I wrote about this in my newsletter last week, Confusion to Clarity. I'll add a link in the description if you want to subscribe and join in. It's a wonderful thing to read. So, last week when I was writing that, I'm very proud of one line that I came up with, and I want to share that with you. And that line went somewhat like this: if you were to read history, you would realize that more than dogs or cats, Uncertainty has been humanity's best friend, and I stand by that line. Because as much of history that I've studied, and it's not very deep that I've gone into it, I've studied it on a much more surface level than a proper historian would. But as much as I have, it's become very evident that history operates on patterns. History operates on similar events, similar cycles happening again and again and again in different contexts, with different people, with different situations. So while this moment might feel like, oh my God, there's so much happening in the world, there's so many things to be worried about, it's never been this worse. No, actually, it has been worse. And the problem is, human beings have very short memories. If you go just 100 years ago, we are in 2026 right now. Go back to 1926, and the world order, the way the world was working, the uncertainty people faced, well, that was much higher. Regions weren't defined. There were a lot of wars going on. World War One had just finished, and the world was entering the worst financial crisis in history. We now know it as the Great Depression. But all of that was happening at a much faster pace. That time, the only difference was people didn't have access to as much information as people have today. So that way, it may feel like those times were more peaceful, more stable, more comfortable. But no, they were actually worse off if you really go back and study them. And this has been every period in history. Today, even though it may not seem like it, we are living in some of the most peaceful, most stable, and most wonderful times in humanity, because the standard of living we have today, that's much better than anything it ever was before. So while yes, uncertainty is there, there's no denying that. Do we have to be afraid of that uncertainty? No. Why not? Because it's literally in our genes and our DNA to be able to deal with that uncertainty. If human beings could figure out millions and millions of wars over past so many years and still be alive and still be thriving as the most productive species on the planet, then you can survive a bit of uncertainty and a bit of upheaval in whatever area of life that you are struggling with. The question is, are you getting the skills to deal with that uncertainty? That's what we need to work on. That's what we're going to build today. But even before than that, I hope you've understood this idea that has calmed your fears a bit and that has calmed your worries, because the truth is, we worry way more than we should. Challenges are there, no denying that, but we're actually living in much better times than anyone in humanity has ever seen before. Let's be grateful for that. Let's be grateful for that stability, which is allowing us to even think and prepare for what to do in times of uncertainty. So now that we know there's really nothing too much to be worried about, let's figure out what we can do. And to deal with this uncertainty, there's one thing that human beings have always done. So, see, the way I'm approaching this is a very practical, evidence based approach. We proved through history that uncertainty has been a repeating cycle and has been part of humanity. It will be part of the way we continue to live. It's just who we are. So, in that, there have been two ways people have dealt with uncertainty in the past. One is the unsuccessful way. Now, how do we know the unsuccessful way? Well, whatever people tried, that failed. And so either they were failures in their life, they weren't able to rise successfully, or quite literally, failure meant no survival. It may feel tough to hear these words, but that's exactly how we've evolved. That's exactly how every species in the world evolves. It is the game of survival of the fittest. And so that's where we can use a bit of smart work. If we look at all the people in history who have actually dealt with uncertainty very well, and instead of crumbling under the pressure, instead of crumbling under the doubt, instead of crumbling under the chaos, they actually thrived in it and they became more successful and more wealthy and better off as people than they were even before the crisis happened. Well, then those people are the ones who are surviving like the fittest, and we should learn from them. That's the smart way of getting confidence in an uncertain world. That's the positive and the not just positive though. That's the real way of ensuring that you stay in a higher emotional state without going down. Because once your mind is aware that you're doing the right things, that you're following the best principles, and you're aligned to that ultimate goal of yours, regardless of all the chaos that comes in between, then even through the uncertainty, you will have confidence, you will have trust, you will have faith. You won't need to practice affirmations for it. It will just be, because that's the lens your mind will be able to look at everything from. So here's what all the successful people in history have done to not only deal with uncertainty but thrive in it. They have always continued to learn and grow. That's it. You see, the biggest mistake we make, and the biggest mistake I believe we've conditioned ourselves to make, is the moment we're out of college, learning stops. The moment we're in a job, oh yeah, I learned everything I needed to learn. Now it's just implementing things and growing and gaining experience and all that stuff. No, if you look at all the people who have really made it big, the one thing that's common in all of them is that they have been constant learners in life. It didn't matter how much they achieved, they still learned. It didn't matter how much they'd already grown in their career, they still learned, because they accepted this one fundamental truth about the world: what worked yesterday will not work tomorrow. The past does not equal the future. And so they are humble enough to know that they may have succeeded in the past. That's a good thing. But past success or past failure is not a guarantee of future success or future failure. And because they're aware of that, they're smart enough to put in the work now, even before they need it. So they constantly keep learning, they constantly keep improving, they constantly keep themselves updated on not only what's going on, like not just watching the news, but on learning those concepts, on learning those tricks and tips, on understanding the fundamentals of the global shifts that are happening, or even the shifts that are happening in their industry, or even just the tiny shifts that are happening in their specific role. And then they are on the front line of the change rather than behind it. Because think about it, time is anyways changing, people are changing, the world is changing. Change is the only constant in the world. Whether you accept it or not, it makes no difference. Change does not care or wait for your acceptance of it. So rather than be a victim of it, and rather than suffer from change you have not controlled, why not be aware of it and lead the change in the direction you wanted to go to, and be on the front lines of it, so when things are changing, you're not falling behind, you are the one who's leading it. That's what all the people who thrive do. And it's not just a concept that sounds good for the sake of it. It's actually a very practical, implementable concept. Look at all the biggest conglomerates of the world, all the largest companies that have survived 100 plus years. Look at their first product and look at what they are making now. And there's such a big difference. These companies, they've evolved, these companies, they've grown, they have aligned with the times, not because they were arrogant enough to think, oh, we know everything, we are the market leaders, we are the most successful business on the planet, nobody can beat us. They didn't have that attitude. They learned, they adapted, they kept improving, they kept changing. And because of that, rather than being a victim of change, rather than being a victim of uncertainty, rather than being a sufferer of all that's happening in the world, they actually thrived with it, they learned with it, and they grew with it. That's the biggest power. When Apple was started by Steve Jobs, he had no idea that 30 years down the line, he would make something called the iPhone and completely shift the way the world communicated. But had he not started Apple back then, and had he not had the courage to keep learning, to keep improving, to keep investing in development, we wouldn't have an iPhone today. And I wouldn't be talking to you right now, because I'm able to talk to you through the camera on my iPhone itself. So, this right here is testament to the fact that if you want to deal with uncertainty, if you want to deal with change, keep learning, keep growing, keep improving, never ever, never ever stop this cycle. So, how can you implement this in your life? Let's take a very practical example. I gave you that example in the start, right? That IT professionals are some of the people who are facing the most uncertainty right now. So let's continue on with that example. You can apply this anywhere. Now, there, There are two kinds of people. The first person is someone who's very scared. Someone's like, what if AI takes my job? I don't want it to take my job. I've worked so hard for this. I learned so many skills in college. And now I'm at this point where it's getting very hard to maintain it. And then that person's worrying, that person's panicking, that person has no idea what to do. And the world is seeming like this big and unkind place to that person. And on the second hand, there's someone who's recognizing, okay, AI is changing things, AI is going to take over the world. Why don't I learn those skills? Why don't I implement those skills? And why don't I keep growing and keep learning and keep improving and take the charge of bringing in new projects into my company, or talking about an idea with my managers, or sharing about how we can implement a new workflow to start getting things done in a better way? You see, now that's a person who's growing. That's a person who has the habit of learning. That's a person who has the habit of improving. And their traditional job role may not have anything to do with AI. But if they're on the front lines of it, if they're understanding the concepts and the core ideas behind it, not how do I prompt chat GPT to get 10 different answers, that's not what we mean by learning. What we mean by learning is understanding exactly how the whole world works, understanding exactly how that thing in your specific domain, like AI, for example, works. That's core learning, not the surface level of it, the deep level of it. And when you go to the deeper and deeper and deeper levels of learning, here's the funny thing that happens. Even in times of uncertainty, you are the kind of person who always has a job. Now, you might think, oh, okay, how does that make sense? Well, think about it this way. Even when 90% of the world is losing their jobs, are there a few people who do have their jobs? Yes or no? Is everybody unemployed at the same time ever in the history of the world? No matter how bad the crisis is, no matter how bad the uncertainty and the problem is, it never happens. Because the people who remain in the jobs are the ones who are valuable, are the ones who are adding value, are the ones who are resourceful. Well, those are the learners and the growers. So when uncertainty hits you, or when it comes over your company, or when it comes over your business, or comes over your job, if you are someone who knows how to learn and grow, you'll stick around. Maybe not in the same company, maybe not in the same role, maybe not in the same way, maybe in a way you don't even know right now. But as long as you keep learning, as long as you keep growing, you are going to find a way, because that's when you build a powerful skill that helps you succeed anywhere in life, in any area, and that is agility. You can be agile, you can move from one place to the other and still have the same skills, still have the same confidence to make things happen, because you know, I'll always figure it out. Now, that confidence is not something a person has when they stop learning. That confidence, that conviction that I don't know how yet, but I will figure it out, I will make it happen. That comes when you're a learner and a grower, and you constantly nurture that habit, you constantly focus on it, and you constantly take it one step at a time. So while I know the uncertainty we are facing in the world is quite discomforting and it's quite challenging and sometimes quite worrying as well, the truth is, your worry is not going to stop the changes that are going to happen. If those changes are going to make you lose your job or they're going to take your business away, better to face the reality than to just worry about it and pray it goes away. Because that's what strong people do, that's what successful people do, that's what people who thrive do. In the face of uncertainty, they don't run away, they face the challenge, they learn, they grow, they become agile, and that's how they succeed, that's how they survive the storm, that's how they thrive through it. And at the end of it, while everyone's like, I had such a bad luck, they're like, I created my luck because I was there to focus. I was there to take the action when it mattered the most. So start doing that. Worrying about uncertainty, not going to help you at all. Reduce half of that worry time at least and invest it in learning and growing. And you'll soon start to see, rather than having a pessimistic attitude towards the world, you will start to have an optimistic and positive and expansive attitude, not because the world has changed, but because you have. And now you have the confidence that no matter what kind of a world I am in, I will be able to deal with the change, because I'm a learner, I'm a grower, and I know how to make things happen. So I want you to give me this commitment in the comments today that yes, I'm ready to be a learner and a grower. If you're watching this later on, write that, declare that, make this your commitment tonight, and you will be amazed at how much you are succeeding and how fast you are growing and how much more confidence you get regardless of the challenges that you encounter. Now, the best part is these 15-20 minutes that you're spending with me every day, that is learning and growing. So you're already taking action on it. And if you're committed to taking more and more action, I'll see you tomorrow at the same time at 8:30 p.m. Till then, and from this moment on now, keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming the person who thrives no matter what the circumstances are, because that is where your true power lies. Thank you so much for joining in today. Thank you so much for attending. And I hope this gave you solace, peace, and confidence that no matter what happens, you will figure it out because you have the ability to and you have the skills to do that. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.